The Golf R, often compared to the Subaru WRX STI or the Ford Focus RS or even the upcoming Civic Type R. With its 292 horsepower 2-liter all-wheel drive, it gives you a 0 to 60 time of about 5.2 seconds. But is there something else for $40,000? So with the new Golf R on the horizon, I felt the need to go check out a 2017 Golf R. And what I found was it's just a fantastic fit and finish in and out, great performance numbers. You're getting a car that is cheaper than, say, an Audi TTS or a Audi S3, and it's the only one of the three available with a manual transmission. But then when you step out of the car, you start to realize you're driving a Golf. Now, when you hear it, it makes you think that maybe you should reconsider the idea of spending $40,000 for a Golf. But then I started to think, what else can I come up with for $40,000? And this is what I came up with. So yes, it's a Porsche Cayman. But hear me out. The new Cayman with an 18-inch wheel is about $56,000. However, this 2014 and several others that I've found with low mileage were priced about that low $40,000 range. And what that gives you is a beautifully sculpted car constructed of 44% aluminum. Now you have things like these nice rear air ducts behind the doors that feed fresh air into your 275 horsepower, beautifully sounding flat 6. With a curb weight of about 2,900 pounds, it's still technically a hatchback. So yes, I know compared to the Golf R, it seems to be missing 2 extra seats, a minor oversight. But what this car has is heritage. The Golf, it was built from the ground up with multi-purpose in mind, whereas with the Porsche, you're in a whole new league of sports car. Now, as you make your way to the interior, it's as nice as any Porsche I've ever been in. Things are laid out well, with the driver experience in mind, with all the touches you need, including a nice supportive bucket seat, a universal gauge cluster that's used across the Porsche lineup. You have soft touch materials and a driver focused cockpit. But still, I can't help but wonder if this is just a better Subaru BRZ or a Mazda Miata rather than comparing it to the Golf. But clearly, it's a car for those that want to be noticed, and a car that was built for our addiction to the sound of speed, the feel of effortless cornering, and the love of a beautiful car inside and outside. The Porsche Cayman. Because nobody ever put a poster of a Golf on their wall. So I get it. The Golf R is much more practical. The Cayman is more of a midlife crisis car. It's more of a garage car that you're not going to drive every day. However, I felt the need to point out the fact that from a price point, you're not much further to go for a Porsche Cayman. So the Golf R, though, makes much more sense from the idea of you can go grocery shopping with it. You can drive it around town every day. You can go through a snowstorm with it. It's all-wheel drive. And you still have great performance numbers that are going to shock a few muscle cars out there, and they're not even going to know what hit them. So if you're into more of a sleeper, then the Golf R makes much more sense. So here's our continuation of the 2017 Golf R. So the base price of a little over $39,000, The Golf R started its life back in 2003 when we got the first R32, which instead of sharing the Golf GTI 1.8-liter turbo, the R32 received a 3.2-liter six-cylinder, turning out 237 horsepower and 236 foot-pounds of torque, and blasting through its 4-motion four-wheel drive a 0 to 60 time of about 6.5 seconds. Now, an interesting fact, the first production dual-clutch gearbox was used on an R32. So fast forward to 2009, when the first Golf R was born. With a revamped 2-liter turbo, built like a brick house with bigger pistons, bigger turbo, bigger intercooler, about bigger everything, giving us 266 horsepower and 260 foot-pounds of torque. Now, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we have the current Golf R you see before you, or the MK7, with its 292 horsepower, 2-liter all-wheel drive, and 280 foot-pounds of torque, sharing its engine with the Audi S3 and the Audi TTS. Now, the S3 numbers are nearly identical, with the base price of about $43,000. One would argue that it's a better comparison to my Porsche Cayman. However, the S3 has only one transmission available, and that would be the 6-speed dual-clutch automatic. Now, the Golf has a much more understated interior than, say, the Audi S3. So if it's tech you're after, then you'll have to wait for the next generation Golf R in the next year or so, with a new Audi-like gauge cluster and a 9-inch touchscreen head unit. But for now, you have these leather-trimmed seats, traditional gauge cluster with its blue needles, and typical Volkswagen look. It isn't unpleasant on the eyes, just not a wow factor in here. But I think that will all change when you see the upcoming refreshed Golf R. Now, all the materials are top-notch, with noticeable touches such as the door panel accents, the R logo on the seats, along with the glossy dark finished trim pieces. It just gives it a nice classy look. And the head unit is still easy to use with some touchscreens to it. Now, one thing, the car has plenty of safety. You have lane departure warning, forward collision warning, blind spot monitoring, adaptive cruise control, and parking sensors. So you'll have all of the important things to take care of you, along with push button start, so it's not like you're driving a dated car at all. So as you make your way to the back seat, you're immediately reminded that this is a small car. I had probably about 3 inches of knee room, and the front was adjusted for about a 6-foot adult. But you also had vents for your rear passengers, and you had a nice armrest with cup holders. And you also had LED map lights for each passenger, and a 60-40 split with a pass-through the trunk. Now here's where you have something like a Porsche Cayman beat. You've got plenty of storage, and that's the versatility of a hatchback for you. The Golf R is many different cars rolled into one. It's versatile, it's practical, and with a low 13-second quarter-mile time, I'm not sure you go wrong. It rides on a 19-inch wheel, and it can be used every day. And with future performance models to come, the Volkswagen Golf R might just be writing its own book on racing heritage. Maybe it's even worthy of a poster on the wall. Thanks for watching.